Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at something that's like right in front of us whenever we watch a film, but we might not really think too much about it.
No.
And that's color.
Color.
So we've got a great YouTube video essay about how filmmakers use color to tell stories, plus some extra notes, too, from the creator.
Yeah, it really is fascinating how much thought goes into something that, that we often just kind of take for granted.
Right.
It can totally change how we, experience a movie.
Yeah, and the video made this point that really grabbed my attention, which is that color is never just, randomly put on screen.
Right.
It's a deliberate tool to make us feel a certain way or notice things or even understand, deeper meanings that are going on.
Absolutely. Even going back to the basics of color theory, there's just so much intentionality there.
Right.
Think about primary colors, secondary colors, tertiary colors, those building blocks. They influence everything else.
Yeah, it's like filmmakers are speaking this visual language using color. And the more fluent we become in that language, the more we get out of the film.
Oh, for sure.
But before we get too deep into how it's used, let's just clarify something that the video got up.
Okay.
Color schemes.
Oh, yeah.
Or palettes. They set the overall mood, right?
Exactly. It's like setting the stage with color.
Right.
Let's take a look at the three main schemes that the video highlights.
Okay.
First up is monochromatic, where one color dominates.
Okay.
A great example is "O Brother, Where Art Thou?" With its distinctive sepia tones.
Okay.
It creates this sense of nostalgia and almost steps into this dreamlike world.
Oh, yeah. That film has such a distinct look and feel.
Yeah.
And now I see how that choice plays such a huge role.
Uh-huh.
And then there's the use of adjacent colors.
Yes.
Which are next to each other on the color wheel,
Yeah.
a little bit more subtle.
Right. Adjacent colors create this harmonious and balanced feel.
Yeah.
It might not be as immediately striking as other schemes, but it can be very effective in creating a specific atmosphere.
Okay, cool. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have complementary colors, which are positioned directly across from each other on the color wheel.
Yes.
And these can create a sense of drama and visual excitement.
Exactly. Think of that classic blue and orange combo so prevalent in film.
Oh, yeah.
There's a theory that it's popular because it makes skin tones stand out.
Interesting.
But we also see other pairings like yellow and purple in Vertigo or red and green in Amélie, which are equally impactful.
It's fascinating to see how something as seemingly simple as color choices can evoke such specific feelings and guide our attention.
Yeah.
I'm already starting to look at movies with a more critical eye.
I bet.
But it goes even deeper than that, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Color isn't just about setting the mood. It can be a storytelling tool.
Absolutely. And that's where it gets really exciting.
Okay.
Filmmakers can actually use color to manipulate our emotions.
Really?
Focus our attention, and even hint at symbolic meanings.
Oh, wow.
Without us consciously realizing it.
Okay, I'm all ears. Give me some examples.
Well, one technique is color grading, which allows filmmakers to change colors in post-production.
Okay.
Take The Matrix, for example.
Okay.
The real world has this cool blue tint, while The Matrix itself is drenched in green.
Right.
It's a visual way to differentiate between these two realities.
That's such a smart way to use color to emphasize the contrast between those worlds.
Yeah.
And it's not just about overall tones, right?
Right.
Color can also be used very strategically within a scene.
Filmmakers can use splashes of color to draw our attention to specific details or characters. Think of a bright red dress against a muted background.
Oh.
It immediately pulls your eye to that character.
Like a visual exclamation point.
Yeah.
Now that you mention it, I can think of so many examples where that's used effectively.
I bet.
Are there any other specific techniques filmmakers use?
Oh, definitely. One that often goes unnoticed is color symbolism.
Okay.
Certain colors can be associated with specific ideas or characters, adding layers of meaning to the story. For example, in The Godfather, the color orange is frequently linked to death, making those scenes even more unsettling.
That's interesting. I never consciously made that connection, but now that you've pointed it out, it makes perfect sense. It adds a whole other layer of depth to those scenes.
Exactly. It's all about those subconscious associations.
Okay.
Another great example is Unbreakable, where the villain, Elijah Price, is often connected with the color purple.
Okay.
It subtly reinforces his presence and sinister nature.
Okay, so we've got color grading, strategic highlighting, and color symbolism.
Yeah.
What other tricks do filmmakers have up their sleeves when it comes to using color to tell a story?
Well, they can also use color transitions to signal important changes in the narrative or a character's development.
Okay.
For example, Up begins with vibrant, joyful colors that reflect Carl's life with Ellie.
Yeah.
But as the story shifts to his grief and loneliness, the colors become more muted and desaturated, reflecting his emotional state.
Wow, that's such a powerful use of color to convey a character's inner world. It really adds an emotional punch to the story.
Exactly, and there are countless other examples.
Oh, wow.
In Whiplash, the protagonist's clothing gradually darkens to mirror his mentor's, symbolizing his descent into obsession and the toxic influence of his teacher.
Yeah.
It's the visual representation of his transformation.
That's a great example. It's like watching his character arc unfold, not just through his actions, but through the color palette as well.
Yeah.
Are there any other films that come to mind?
Absolutely. The Last Emperor beautifully uses a progression from red to orange to yellow to green
Wow.
to symbolize the emperor's growth and awareness.
Okay.
It subtly charts his internal evolution through color.
I love how much thought goes into these seemingly small details. It really elevates the whole viewing experience.
Yeah.
And I can't help but think of Walter White's wardrobe changes in Breaking Bad,
Oh, yeah.
reflecting his transformation from a meek teacher to a ruthless kingpin,
Right.
or Luke Skywalker's shift from white to black in Star Wars.
You're really picking up on those visual cues.
Yes.
It's amazing how filmmakers can use color transitions to communicate so much about a character's journey without explicitly stating it.
It's like they're tapping into this universal language of color that we all understand on some level, even if we're not consciously aware of it.
Yeah.
It makes me want to rewatch all my favorite films with a fresh perspective.
That's the beauty of learning more about this aspect of filmmaking.
Right.
It opens up a whole new level of appreciation for the artistry and intention behind something we often take for granted.
Totally. And speaking of artistry, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Vertigo.
Oh, yeah?
The use of color in that film is absolutely masterful.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. Hitchcock's use of color is so deliberate.
Yeah.
The distinct red for Scotty, the cool green associated with Madeline, and the absence of both when we see Midge. It's like their personalities and relationships are painted on the screen.
That's a brilliant observation. Hitchcock was a master of using color to tell a story. And he wasn't afraid to use less common pairings like the yellow and purple to create a sense of unease and mystery.
It's incredible how these seemingly simple color choices can evoke such complex emotions and add layers of meaning to the narrative.
Yeah.
This has been a real eye-opener for me.
Me too.
I always find it fascinating to explore how different filmmakers utilize color to create unique and memorable cinematic experiences.
Oh, for sure.
Speaking of memorable, I can't help but think of those iconic lightsabers and Tron bikes.
Oh, yeah.
The way they use color to instantly signify good versus evil is so effective.
You're right. It's like a visual shorthand that taps into our subconscious understanding of those archetypes. The clash of those vibrant colors instantly sets the stage for the conflict between those characters.
It's like a primal response to color that transcends language and culture.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to see how those basic principles of color theory are applied to create such powerful storytelling moments.
It really is.
And it highlights the incredible skill and artistry of filmmakers who understand how to wield color as a powerful tool to enhance the narrative and captivate the audience.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
It's like they're painting with light and emotion, using color to guide our eyes, our hearts, and our understanding of the story.
I love it.
This has been an absolutely illuminating deep dive so far.
Yeah.
But before we move on, I want to emphasize one key takeaway for our listeners.
Okay.
We've talked about color theory schemes, techniques, and symbolism. But what does it all really mean? What's the big picture here?
The real magic of color in film lies in its ability to create this deep emotional connection with you, the viewer.
Oh, wow.
It's about using this often overlooked element to amplify emotions, enhance the story, and draw you into the world of the film.
It's like filmmakers are speaking to us on an intuitive level, using a language we might not even realize we understand.
Right.
And the more we become aware of that language, the richer our cinematic experience becomes.
Exactly. It encourages us to pay closer attention to the world around us, to appreciate the artistry and intention behind every detail, even something as seemingly simple as color.
It's like unlocking a secret code that reveals a whole new dimension of filmmaking.
Yes.
And speaking of codes and secrets, let's talk about how color can be used to create hidden meanings and subtle symbolism that add layers of depth to the story.
Okay.
One example that comes to mind is the use of color in Vertigo.
Yeah.
Beyond those distinct colors associated with the characters, Hitchcock also uses less common pairings like yellow and purple
Uh-huh.
to create a sense of unease and mystery. It's like
Mm.
those colors themselves become symbolic of the unsettling nature of Scotty's obsession and the dark secrets lurking beneath the surface of the narrative.
Exactly. It's a subtle way of reinforcing those themes and creating a visual language that speaks to our subconscious.
This deep dive is really making me appreciate the thought and artistry that goes into every frame of a film. It's like uncovering hidden layers of meaning and intention behind something I previously took for granted.
I'm glad to hear that it's all about cultivating a more critical and appreciative eye for the art of filmmaking.
And speaking of appreciating the art, let's delve into a specific technique that filmmakers use to manipulate color and create specific effects.
Okay.
Color grading.
Oh yeah, color grade.
So color grading is the process of altering and enhancing the color of a film in post-production.
Right.
It's a powerful tool that allows filmmakers to fine-tune the mood, atmosphere, and visual style of their films.
Absolutely.
Can you give us some examples of how color grading is used effectively in films?
Absolutely. One of the most iconic examples is The Matrix.
Okay.
The filmmakers deliberately used a cool blue tint for scenes set in the real world,
Right.
creating a sense of coldness and detachment.
Yeah.
In contrast, the Matrix itself is bathed in a sickly green hue, reflecting its artificial and unsettling nature.
That's a brilliant example. The color choices so effectively reinforce the themes of reality versus illusion and highlight the stark differences between those two worlds.
Exactly. And it's not just about using color to differentiate between settings.
Right.
Color grading can also be used to subtly shift the mood within a scene.
Okay.
Think of the cool, desaturated tones often used in horror films
Oh, yeah.
to create a chilling and suspenseful atmosphere.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Those bleak, washed-out colors can instantly make a scene feel eerie and unsettling, even if nothing overtly scary is happening.
Right.
It's like the color palette itself is foreshadowing something sinister.
You're spot on. It's a clever way to manipulate the viewer's emotions and create a sense of anticipation and dread.
Yeah.
Another great example is Dune.
Okay.
The director deliberately avoids the color blue throughout most of the film,
Interesting.
emphasizing the scarcity of water on Arrakis.
Okay.
When blue finally does appear, it's a powerful visual moment that signifies hope and the potential for change.
That's such a clever use of color to highlight a crucial element of the story.
Yeah?
By withholding that color for so long, its eventual appearance carries even more weight and significance.
Precisely. It's a testament to the power of color grading to subliminally impact the viewer's experience and enhance the storytelling.
It's like a secret weapon in the filmmaker's arsenal, allowing them to shape our perceptions and emotional responses without us even realizing it.
Right.
It makes me want to go back and rewatch all those films with a newfound appreciation for the subtle nuances of color.
I completely agree. It's a whole new way of experiencing cinema.
Yeah.
But beyond the technical aspects of color grading, let's not forget about the power of color to evoke specific emotions and create memorable moments.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Certain colors have such strong associations and can trigger visceral reactions in the viewer.
Yeah.
For instance, red is often associated with passion, danger, and intensity, while blue can evoke feelings of calmness, trust, and melancholy.
Exactly. And filmmakers often play with those associations to enhance the impact of their scenes.
Yeah.
Think of the iconic red dress in Schindler's List.
Oh, yeah.
It's the only splash of color in an otherwise black and white film.
Right.
And it immediately draws your eye and evokes a sense of horror and helplessness.
That's such a powerful example. The use of color, or the lack thereof in that film, is so deliberate and impactful.
It really is.
It's a stark reminder of the brutality and inhumanity of the Holocaust.
Absolutely.
And it demonstrates how color, even in its absence, can be a powerful storytelling tool. Another great example is the use of yellow in Kill Bill.
Oh, yeah.
It's associated with both danger and vengeance, reflecting the bride's relentless pursuit of her enemies.
Right.
Those are such great examples. It's amazing how color can be used to amplify emotions and create such visceral responses.
Yeah.
It's like filmmakers are tapping into our primal instincts and using color to trigger those deep-seated emotional reactions.
You're right. It's a fascinating interplay between art and psychology.
Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons why color is such a powerful and enduring element of filmmaking.
This deep dive is really opening my eyes to the complexities and nuances of color in film. It's so much more than just aesthetics.
It really is.
I'm thrilled to hear that it's all about appreciating the artistry and intentionality behind every choice that filmmakers make, from the grandest set pieces to the subtlest shades of color. And speaking of subtle shades, let's delve into another fascinating aspect of color in film.
Okay.
The use of color transitions to tell a story.
Ah, yes, color transitions are a brilliant way to visually represent a character's development, a shift in the narrative, or a change in mood or atmosphere.
Yeah.
It's like watching the story unfold through color.
Can you give us some examples of how filmmakers use color transitions effectively?
Absolutely. One of my favorite examples is The Fall.
Okay.
As the story progresses and the young girl's imagination takes over, the color palette becomes increasingly vibrant and fantastical,
Oh, wow.
reflecting the shift from reality to fantasy.
That's such a beautiful example. The use of color so perfectly mirrors the protagonist's journey and creates a visually stunning and emotionally engaging experience.
Exactly, and it's not just about becoming more vibrant.
Right.
Color transitions can also involve subtle shifts in tone or saturation.
Okay.
For example, in Amélie, the film starts with this warm, almost golden hue, reflecting Amélie's whimsical and hopeful outlook on life.
Uh-huh.
As she encounters challenges and heartbreak, the colors become slightly desaturated, reflecting a touch of melancholy and disillusionment.
That's a great example. It's like watching the world through Emily's eyes,
Yeah,
experiencing those subtle shifts in mood and perspective through the color palette.
you're right. It's a testament to the power of color to convey emotion and subtly guide the viewer's interpretation of the story.
Yeah.
Another brilliant example is Pan's Labyrinth.
Okay.
The real world is depicted in harsh, desaturated tones, while the fantastical world is full of rich, vibrant colors.
That's a classic example of using color to distinguish between reality and fantasy. It immediately sets up the contrast between those two worlds and adds to the overall sense of wonder and escapism.
Exactly. It's a clever way to visually represent the protagonist's escape from the harsh realities of war into a world of magic and imagination.
It's fascinating how filmmakers can manipulate color to create such a powerful and evocative visual language.
Yeah,
It really adds another dimension to the storytelling.
it truly does. And it's a testament to the collaborative nature of filmmaking,
Right.
where artists and technicians work together to bring a director's vision to life through every detail, including the nuanced use of color.
This deep dive is really making me appreciate the level of artistry and intentionality that goes into every aspect of filmmaking.
I'm glad to hear that it's all about fostering a deeper understanding and appreciation for the magic of cinema.
And speaking of magic, let's talk about how color can be used to create a sense of wonder and escapism,
Okay.
transporting us to fantastical worlds and allowing us to experience the extraordinary.
Yes. One of the most effective ways to create a sense of wonder is through the use of saturated colors,
Okay.
often in unexpected combinations.
Okay.
Think of the vibrant hues of Avatar,
Oh, yeah.
where the alien world of Pandora is teeming with luminescent plants and creatures.
That's a perfect example. The colors in that film are so rich and otherworldly that they immediately transport you to another realm.
Yeah,
It's like stepping into a living, breathing dream.
exactly. And it's not just about saturation.
Okay.
Filmmakers also use unexpected color combinations to create a sense of the fantastical. Think of the purple and orange skies of Guardians of the Galaxy,
Oh, yeah.
or the neon-drenched streets of Blade Runner 2049.
Those are such great examples. It's like filmmakers are breaking free from the constraints of reality and using color to create worlds that exist purely in the realm of imagination.
You're absolutely right. It's about
Yeah.
pushing the boundaries of visual storytelling and using color to create experiences that are both captivating and unforgettable.
This deep dive is really making me appreciate the transformative power of color in film. It's not just a visual element, it's a storytelling tool, an emotional trigger, and a gateway to worlds beyond our own.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the enduring power of color to captivate our imaginations and enrich our cinematic experiences.
And on that note, I think it's time to take a break and let our listeners digest all this amazing information.
Okay, feels good.
But we'll be back soon with more fascinating insights into the world of color in film. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're picking up right where we left off, exploring color in film, and I'm still kind of blown away by how much there is to learn.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Before the break, we were talking about how color creates those immersive experiences, but how does it work on a more granular level, like
Okay.
within a specific scene?
That's a great question. Filmmakers use a few techniques to manipulate color and kind of guide our attention.
Okay.
One of the most common is color highlighting.
Color highlighting. So they're basically using color to point out what we should be looking at.
Exactly. Think about a scene with like a muted color palette, and suddenly there's this burst of bright color,
Right.
maybe a character wearing a red coat.
Okay.
Your eye is instantly drawn to that element.
It's like a visual cue telling us, hey, pay attention to this.
Right.
I can see how that could be really effective in like building suspense or emphasizing important details.
Absolutely. It can also be used more subtly.
Okay.
Imagine a scene with a lot of cool blues and greens,
Mm-hmm.
and then a character enters wearing a warm yellow.
Okay.
That shift in color temperature subtly highlights the character's entrance and might even hint at a change in the mood or dynamic of the scene.
It's like using color to create a visual hierarchy within the frame,
Yes.
guiding our eyes and shaping our understanding of what's important.
I'm starting to see this everywhere now.
I bet you are.
Are there any other techniques filmmakers use to manipulate color within a scene?
Oh, definitely. Another technique is color juxtaposition.
Where filmmakers place contrasting colors side by side to create a sense of visual tension or highlight a thematic conflict.
Ooh, that sounds interesting. Can you give me an example?
Sure, think of The Silence of the Lambs, where Clarice Starling, often dressed in light neutral colors, enters the dark, shadowy world of Hannibal Lecter.
Okay.
That stark contrast between light and dark not only highlights the danger she's facing, but also symbolizes the clash between her innocence and his depravity.
That's a chilling example.
Yeah,
The color contrast really amplifies the sense of unease and danger in those scenes.
yeah, for sure.
Are there any other films that utilize color juxtaposition effectively?
Absolutely, Hero. A visually stunning martial arts film uses contrasting colors to represent different perspectives on a historical event.
Okay.
Each retelling of the story is associated with a specific color palette,
Okay.
allowing the viewer to visually distinguish between them and understand how perspective shapes our understanding of history.
That's such a clever use of color to represent different viewpoints.
Yeah.
And highlight the subjective nature of storytelling. It's like each color palette becomes a lens through which we experience the story.
Exactly. And it adds another layer of complexity to the narrative, encouraging the viewer to question the reliability of each account and piece together the truth for themselves.
This is blowing my mind. I never realized how much thought and intention goes into every single color choice in a film.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It really is.
Color can be such a powerful storytelling tool, and filmmakers who truly understand its nuances can use it to create truly unforgettable cinematic experiences.
Okay, so we've talked about color highlighting and color juxtaposition. Are there any other techniques filmmakers use to manipulate color within a scene?
Yes. One technique that often goes unnoticed but can be incredibly effective is color isolation.
Color isolation? That sounds intriguing. What is that exactly?
It's a technique where a single color is emphasized while the rest of the scene is desaturated or presented in black and white.
Okay.
It's a way to draw attention to a specific element and create a sense of visual impact.
Oh, wow. I can definitely see how that would create a striking visual. Can you give me an example?
Sure, think of Schindler's List, where a little girl in a red coat wanders through the chaos of the Krakow ghetto.
Yeah.
The red coat is the only element in color, and it immediately draws your eye and emphasizes the girl's vulnerability and innocence amidst the horrors of the Holocaust.
That's such a powerful example. The use of color isolation in that scene is heartbreaking and unforgettable. Are there any other films that utilize this technique effectively?
Absolutely. Sin City is a great example. It's a film with a highly stylized aesthetic that uses color isolation throughout to highlight specific elements,
Okay.
like a character's blood-red lips or the glint of a gun. It creates this hyper-real, almost comic book-like visual style.
I love that film. The use of color isolation definitely adds to its gritty and visually striking atmosphere. It's like each splash of color is a punch to the gut, drawing you further into that dark and dangerous world.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a technique that can be used for both dramatic and stylistic effect. And when used, well, it can truly elevate a film's visual storytelling.
This is all so fascinating. I'm starting to see movies with a whole new set of eyes,
Yeah.
paying attention to these subtle color choices
Yeah.
and how they shape my understanding of the story. But beyond these specific techniques, let's talk about how color can evoke emotions
Okay.
and enhance the overall impact of a scene.
That's a great point. Color has a profound impact on our emotions, and filmmakers who understand this can use color to subtly manipulate our feelings and create a more immersive experience.
So they're basically playing with our subconscious associations with certain colors.
Yeah.
Like how red can make us feel excited or anxious, while blue might evoke feelings of calmness or sadness.
Exact. Think about the use of warm golden light in romantic comedies.
Uh-huh.
It creates a sense of warmth, intimacy, and happiness, enhancing those feel-good moments.
It's like bathing those scenes in a literal glow of love and happiness.
Yeah.
I can definitely see how that would make those scenes even more impactful. Exactly. And on the flip side, Think about the use of cool, desaturated colors in horror films.
Right.
Those bleak tones can instantly create a sense of unease, dread, and isolation, amplifying the chilling effect of those scenes.
It's like the color palette itself is foreshadowing something sinister,
Uh-huh.
creating an atmosphere of suspense and anticipation.
You're exactly right. It's all about using color to create a subconscious emotional response in the viewer, enhancing the overall impact of the film.
This deep dive is really opening my eyes to the power of color in film. It's not just about pretty pictures. It's about using color to tell a story, evoke emotions, and create unforgettable cinematic experiences.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
It's a testament to the artistry and intentionality of filmmakers who understand how to wield color as a powerful storytelling tool.
And speaking of artistry, let's talk about how color can be used to create a sense of visual poetry and beauty,
Okay.
elevating a film beyond mere entertainment to a work of art.
Yes. The use of color can transform a film into a visual symphony, captivating our senses and leaving a lasting impression on our souls.
Can you give me some examples of films that use color in this way?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Cook, The Thief, His Wife and Her Lover is a visually stunning film that uses color to symbolize different themes and emotions.
Okay.
Each room in the restaurant is associated with a specific color, and as the characters move through these spaces, the color palette shifts, reflecting their changing emotional states.
That sounds like a visual feast.
Yeah.
It's like the colors themselves become characters in the story,
Yeah.
influencing the mood and shaping our interpretation of the events.
Exactly, and it's not just about symbolism.
Right.
The film also uses bold, contrasting colors to create a sense of heightened drama and visual intensity.
Okay.
It's a film that truly celebrates the expressive power of color.
I'm adding that to my watch list right now.
You should. It's great.
Are there any other films that come to mind when you think of color as visual poetry?
Oh, definitely. The Tree of Life is a film that uses color to evoke a sense of wonder and awe at the natural world.
Okay.
The film is filled with breathtaking images of nature, from the swirling colors of the cosmos to the vibrant hues of a summer meadow. It's a film that celebrates the beauty and fragility of life.
That sounds like a truly transcendent cinematic experience.
It is.
It's like the filmmakers are using color to capture the essence of life itself,
Uh,
evoking those primal feelings of wonder and connection to the natural world.
You're right. It's a film that transcends language and speaks to our souls through the power of visual imagery.
This deep dive is making me realize that I need to watch more films.
Yes, you do.
I'm so inspired to explore the world of cinema with a newfound appreciation for the artistry of color.
I'm so glad to hear that it's a journey of endless discovery and delight.
And speaking of discovery, let's delve into a specific aspect of color that often goes unnoticed but can be incredibly powerful: the use of subtle variations in hue and saturation to create a sense of depth and texture.
Yes. It's amazing how slight shifts in color can completely transform our perception of an image.
Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely, imagine a close-up shot of a character's face.
Okay.
Subtle variations in hue and saturation can highlight the contours of their features, bringing out the texture of their skin and the depth of their emotions.
It's like using color to sculpt the image, adding dimension and bringing it to life.
Exactly. And it's not just about faces.
Okay.
Think about a landscape shot. Subtle variations in color can create a sense of depth and distance, making the scene feel more expansive and immersive.
I can almost feel the wind blowing through the trees and the sun warming my skin. Are there any films that come to mind as examples of using subtle color variations to create depth and texture?
Absolutely. Lawrence of Arabia is a masterpiece of visual storytelling, and one of its most striking aspects is the use of color to depict the vastness and beauty of the desert.
Okay.
The film uses subtle variations in hue and saturation to create a sense of endless space and shifting light, making the desert feel like a living, breathing character.
That's an incredible example. It's like the filmmakers are painting with light and color, capturing the essence of that landscape and transporting us to another world.
Exactly, and it's not just about realism.
Right.
Subtle color variations can also be used to create a sense of surrealism and otherworldliness.
Okay.
Think of the dream sequences in Inception, where the shifting colors and textures create a sense of disorientation and instability, reflecting the character's journey through multiple layers of consciousness.
That's a brilliant example. It's like the color palette itself is becoming a character in the story, reflecting the character's emotional states and the shifting realities they're navigating.
You're exactly right. It's a testament to the power of color to create a truly immersive and unforgettable cinematic experience.
This deep dive is truly eye-opening. I'm starting to appreciate the artistry and intentionality behind every single color choice in a film.
I'm so glad to hear that it's all about developing a deeper appreciation for the magic of cinema and understanding how filmmakers use every tool at their disposal, including color, to tell compelling stories and captivate their audiences.
Speaking of captivating audiences, let's talk about how color can be used to create a sense of spectacle and visual grandeur, those moments that take our breath away and leave us in awe of the power of cinema.
Ah, yes. Color can be used to create a sense of visual opulence and splendor, transforming a film into a feast for the eyes.
Can you give me some examples of films that use color in this way?
Absolutely. Moulin Rouge is a visual extravaganza using a riot of colors to create a sense of energy, passion, and excess that mirrors the film's setting in the bohemian underworld of 19th century Paris.
That film is pure visual magic. It's like stepping into a whirlwind of color and sound, a celebration of life and love and all things beautiful.
Exactly. And it's not just about using lots of color.
Right.
It's about using color in a deliberate and artful way to create a sense of visual harmony and impact.
Are there any other films that come to mind when you think of color as a tool for creating visual spectacle?
Oh, definitely. Romeo plus Juliet. Baz Luhrmann's modern take on the classic Shakespearean tragedy uses bold, saturated colors and a kinetic visual style to create a heightened sense of drama and passion.
Okay.
It's a film that explodes with color and energy, reflecting the intensity of the character's emotions.
That's a great example. The use of color in that film is so deliberate and expressive. It's like the emotions themselves are bursting forth in a symphony of hues.
You're right. It's a film that uses color to its fullest potential, creating a truly immersive and unforgettable cinematic experience.
This deep dive is making me realize that I need to revisit some of those visually stunning films and pay closer attention to the use of color. I'm starting to see it as a key element in creating those truly memorable cinematic moments.
I'm so glad to hear that it's all about appreciating the artistry and intentionality behind every visual choice and understanding how color can transform a film from mere entertainment into a work of art.
And speaking of art, let's talk about how color can be used to create a sense of visual symbolism and metaphor,
Okay.
adding layers of meaning and depth to the narrative.
Yes. Color can be a powerful tool for communicating complex ideas and emotions,
Right.
adding a layer of subtext and symbolism to the story.
Can you give me some examples of films that use color in this way?
Absolutely.
Mm.
The Sixth Sense uses color to distinguish between the world of the living and the world of the dead.
Okay.
The living are surrounded by warm, vibrant colors, while the dead are shrouded in this ghostly blue pallor.
That's such a clever use of color to create a visual distinction between those two realms.
Right.
It adds to the film's eerie and unsettling atmosphere and subtly reinforces the theme of communication between the living and the dead.
Exactly. And it's not always about using different colors.
Okay.
Sometimes the absence of color can be just as meaningful.
Right.
Think of The Artist, a silent film that pays homage to the golden age of cinema. The film is entirely in black and white, reflecting the transition from silent films to talkies and symbolizing the loss of innocence and the end of an era.
That's a beautiful example. The absence of color becomes a powerful symbol of nostalgia and loss, adding to the film's bittersweet charm.
It's remarkable how a simple choice, like using black and white, can carry so much weight and meaning.
This deep dive is making me appreciate the power of color, or the lack thereof,
Yeah.
to enhance the storytelling and create a richer cinematic experience.
I couldn't agree more. It's all about using color in a deliberate and artful way to create a film that speaks to both the mind and the heart.
And speaking of speaking to the heart, let's talk about how color can be used to evoke a sense of nostalgia and memory, transporting us back to specific times and places and triggering powerful emotional responses.
Yes, color has a remarkable ability to evoke memories and transport us back to different points in our lives. Filmmakers who understand this can use color to create a sense of longing, nostalgia, and bittersweet reflection.
Can you give me some examples of films that use color in this way?
Absolutely. The Virgin Suicides uses a soft pastel color palette to create a dreamy, nostalgic atmosphere that evokes the innocence and tragedy of adolescence.
Okay.
The film is bathed in this hazy golden light, like a faded memory of a long-lost summer.
That's a beautiful example. The color palette perfectly captures the film's themes of youth longing and the bittersweet nature of memory.
Exactly. And it's not just about using specific colors.
Right.
It's about using color in a way that evokes a specific time and place.
Okay.
Think of Dazed and Confused, a coming-of-age comedy set in the 1970s.
Yeah.
The film's color palette is warm and saturated, reflecting the hazy, carefree days of summer and the distinct visual style of that era.
It's like stepping back in time.
It is.
The color palette instantly transports you to that era and evokes those feelings of freedom, rebellion, and youthful exuberance.
You're right. It's a film that celebrates the nostalgia and bittersweet memories of a specific time and place, using color to create a powerful sense of immersion and emotional connection.
This deep dive is making me realize that color is so much more than just a visual element in film.
Yeah.
It's a language, a storytelling tool, and a key to unlocking a deeper understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
I couldn't have said it better myself. It's a testament to the transformative power of cinema and the enduring magic of color.
And on that note, I think it's time to take a moment to appreciate the incredible artistry and technical skill that goes into crafting a film's visual style, including the use of color.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's a collaborative effort between filmmakers, cinematographers, production designers, and colorists, all working together to create a cohesive and visually stunning experience.
Absolutely. It's a testament to the dedication and passion of everyone involved in bringing a film to life.
Yeah.
And it's something we as viewers should appreciate and celebrate.
I couldn't agree more. So the next time you watch a film, take a moment to really savor the visual feast before you paying attention to the subtle and not so subtle ways that color shapes your experience. It's a journey of discovery that will enrich your appreciation for the art of filmmaking and open your eyes to a whole new world of beauty and meaning.
That's a wonderful way to put it. It's all about cultivating a more critical and appreciative eye for the magic of cinema.
And on that note, I think it's time to take another break and let our listeners process all these incredible insights.
Okay, that sounds good.
But don't worry, we'll be back soon with even more fascinating explorations of color in film.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've covered so much ground already, from like the science of color to the subtle ways filmmakers use it to tell stories. It's like we've unlocked this secret code to understanding movies.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
It really has. And we've still got more to uncover. Before the break, we were talking about how color can transport us back in time, evoking nostalgia and memories. But it can also be used to foreshadow events or like hint at a character's fate.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's got a visual whisper, adding another layer of meaning to the story.
Can you give me some examples of how color foreshadowing works in films?
Absolutely. Think about The Shining.
Okay.
As Jack Torrance descends into madness, the hotel's vibrant colors become increasingly oppressive and unsettling, foreshadowing the violence to come.
That's a chilling example. It's like the color palette itself is becoming a character, mirroring Jack's descent into darkness.
Exactly. The colors become a visual representation of his internal state, hinting at the horrors that await.
Wow.
Another example is American Beauty.
Okay.
The film uses recurring red imagery, from roses to Lester's fantasies, to foreshadow his eventual demise.
Wow, I never noticed that before. It's like those splashes of red are subtle warnings, hinting at the danger lurking beneath the surface of like suburban normalcy. It's amazing how color can be used to create such a sense of foreboding.
It's a testament to the power of visual storytelling and the subtle ways filmmakers can use color to manipulate our emotions and expectations.
This deep dive is making me realize that I need to pay closer attention to those subtle color choices the next time I watch a movie.
I think we all do.
It's like a whole new world of meaning is opening up to me.
That's the beauty of exploring color in film.
Yeah.
It encourages us to become more active viewers,
Right?
to engage with the visual language of cinema and appreciate the artistry and intention behind every choice.
And speaking of choices, let's not forget the crucial role that the audience plays in interpreting color in film.
Oh, that's a great point.
We all bring our own experiences, cultural backgrounds, and personal associations to the viewing experience. So what might symbolize one thing to one person could mean something entirely different to another.
That's a great point. There's no one-size-fits-all interpretation when it comes to color in film.
Yeah.
It's a subjective experience.
Right.
And that's part of what makes it so fascinating.
So ultimately, it's up to the viewer to decide how they interpret the use of color in a film based on their own understanding and emotional response.
Exactly. And that's part of the magic of cinema.
Right.
It's a collaborative art form, a conversation between the filmmakers and the audience, where meaning is created through this shared experience.
This deep dive has been an incredible journey. We've explored the science of color, the techniques filmmakers use to manipulate it, the ways it evokes emotions, foreshadows events, and even transcends cultural boundaries. It's like we've uncovered this hidden language that speaks to our souls.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
And I hope our listeners are feeling inspired to rewatch their favorite films with a newfound appreciation for the power and beauty of color.
Me too.
And remember, this is just the beginning of your exploration. There's so much more to discover, so keep those eyes peeled, those minds open, and those hearts ready to be moved by the magic of color in film. Thanks for joining us on this colorful deep dive.
It's been a pleasure sharing this journey with you.
Until next time.
Until next time.